नमस्ते भाई। श्रीमन्मंगलधारणं शिलजगत्वाञ्छावलीपूरणं कल्याणाभरणं कलावितरणं प्राणं कुसुम्भारुणं मञ्जीरावरणं महाकविमनः कण्ठे रुहप्रेरणम् अम्बायाश्चरणं व्रजामि शरणं वाग्वैदुषीकारणम्। शैक्षिक अनुसंधान विधि विषये द्विसप्ताहात्मिक कार्यशाला राष्ट्रीय कार्यशाला अस्माकं विश्वविद्यालये आयोजिता वर्तते। अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे ये समागताः सन्ति अतिदूरात् अस्माकं मित्रमणयः अध्यापकाः ते सर्वे तेषां सर्वेषां कृते एवं एतद् तृतीय सेशन् भवति। तत्र सर्वेषां कृते एकवारं स्वागतं व्याहरामि। एवमेव अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य निदेशकाः भवन्ति आचार्याः वेङ्कटराव महोदयाः, तेभ्यः अपि अहं स्वागतं व्याहरामि। एवमेव अस्य कार्यक्रमस्य तत्र संयोजकाः भवन्ति अस्माकम् आचार्य आर् चन्द्रशेखर महोदयाः, तेभ्यः अपि अहं स्वागतं व्याहरामि। एवमेव अतिरिक्तसंयोजकाः भवन्ति अस्माकं विभागीयाः अध्यापकाः ये सन्ति, तेषां सर्वेषां कृतेपि अहं सभापक्षतः स्वागतं व्याहरामि। एण्ड् अस्मिन् कार्यक्रमे अस्माकम् आह्वानम् अङ्गीकृत्य समागताः सन्ति प्रोफेसर् डॉक्टर निर्मला ज्योति, former professor department of Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalaya. Madam, this is the greatest opportunity for me. I welcome you because you are greatest scholar of in education department, madam. I know about you because I attended orientation program in SV University and at the same time refresher course also. Then I know, madam, about you. Just about madam, I am telling some qualification. Madam has actually teaching experience more than 40 years for teaching experience. Madam has, and madam has published more than 42 published books. At the same time, under madam guidance, 10 PhD scholars are awarded. They got PhD awards, 10 research scholars, and at the same time, madam has acted different committees. At the same time, administration and academic level also. Like coordinator of B.Ed distance mode, coordinator of B.Ed distance M.Ed distance mode, and coordinator of UGC scheme, program coordinator of UGC SAP program, etc. And at the same time, madam has received best teacher award from Andhra Pradesh government. And another, madam, in this situation I am telling one thing. Our Sanskrit poet Kalidasa was told qualities of best teacher: श्लिष्टा क्रिया कस्यचित् आत्मसंस्था संक्रांतिरन्यस्य विशेषयुक्ता यस्यो भयं साधु शिक्षकानां धुरि प्रतिष्ठा वैदव्येव. Two qualities of best teacher: one is knowledge, second one is teaching skills. But in this situation, madam has three qualities. One is knowledge, second one is teaching skills, third one is the greatest personality she has. Madam has, because మన తెలుగులో అంటే కదా మేడం పరిసరాల మేడం సరౌండింగ్లో కూడా కోపం అనేటువంటిది మేడం ఎప్పుడు రాదు. I observed madam in that program, orientation program and refresher course also. That's why once again I am welcoming you, madam, and on behalf of education department NSU. Please, madam. Thank you.
Nice vocabulary, and I feel it as good compliments. Thank you, sir. And I once again thank Professor Venkatrao, Professor Chandrasekhar, and the faculty of the Department of Education for giving me one more opportunity in this year, during this year, to interact with you. And I am highly grateful for it, sir. And I feel that research, you know very well, the meaning lies in the word itself. Research. You need to search again and again. Research. What for searching? Searching for the truth. Searching for the truth. What is the truth? What is the truth? And how can we arrive at the truth? And if you observe the process of research, the person or the observer observes a phenomena. Observes a phenomena again and again, and tries to understand the situation to come to a conclusion. For that purpose, he or she needs to collect the data. And not only collecting the data, that data need to be analyzed purposefully, systematically, formally. And based on the analysis, you need to evaluate what is the truth, and you come to the conclusion. And that drawing that conclusion through a systematic, formal process is known as research. And it is a part, and here I have given research is a process. It is a process. The end product is the truth. End product is the truth. During this process, we have to interact in so many ways to collect the data and organize the data and analyze that data, synthesize that data. After synthesis, you need to evaluate and draw the conclusions. And if possible, if the same conclusions are obtained repeatedly, we make generalization. What is a generalization? If the conclusions drawn through different researchers prove to be one and the same, that becomes the generalization. And sometimes that generalization leads to making of theories, principles, laws, like that, rules, and that will help us to make policies. And next slide. And there are different definitions for research. And if you look into the definitions given by different people, like Rusk, according to Rusk, research is a point of view. It is a point of view. Point of view in the sense you need to pick up from a phenomena or from a difficult situation. You need to have a point of view to look at the issue as a question or a problem. That problem attitude is more important. That inquiry type of attitude is more important. It is not simply observing the phenomena. You need to have a questioning attitude or a probing attitude or an inquiry attitude. The attitude of inquiry and the frame of our mind, and it is a point of view and attitude of inquiry and the frame of mind according to us. And if here through that frame of mind, inquiry attitude, what we are going to do is we are going to find answers for unanswered questions. What are the questions hitherto unanswered? For that questions we are going to get the answers, or we are going to get the solutions for the problems which are unsolved. So research is a process to obtain answers for unanswered questions or solutions for the unsolved problems. And it does not stop at that level. Sometimes that was the opinion or the definition given by Rusk. And if you go into the another definition by George J. Moulay, he says research is a systematic and scholarly application of scientific method. It is a systematic and scholarly application of scientific method. It is very simple, and this is exactly what the research process is about to be. And again, Crawford, he says research is a systematic and refined technique for obtaining more adequate solution of a problem. If you see all these things, it is a systematic process. It is going to obtain solution for the problem, and it follows scientific method. Next, please. According to Francis Rummel, he says research is an endeavor. Research is an endeavor. Endeavor for what? To discover, to develop, to verify the knowledge. Here, research is always not to find the new knowledge or the new wisdom. Sometimes the existing body of knowledge need to be refined or modified. So, according to him, research means it is a process to develop a body of knowledge. If we have this much of body of knowledge, through our research we are going to add some more knowledge through our research, or the existing knowledge need to be refined or modified. See, when the computers have come, the computer machines were kept in a room. It was so large. Now, what is that? And so many things have come into existence. So, through refinement, through modifications, and like that, in our life, we see many things that have been refined. May not be new, but with the existing knowledge, they have refined and presented. And the whole purpose of this is to have quality of life, human betterment, life betterment. And then here it is an intellectual process that has developed through hundreds of years, not only hundreds, thousands of years, and it is ever changing. It is very dynamic, and it is a dynamic process, and it always searches for the truth. And next slide. Cook, he has given a comprehensive definition of research. A comprehensive definition for research has been given by Cook. According to him, research is an honest, exhaustive, intelligent searching for facts and their meanings or implications with reference to a given problem. It is an honest effort. It should be systematic. It should be exhaustive, and it should be shrewd enough. It should be it should be an intellectual process, and the product or the findings of that research should be authentic. Nobody should question. And if it is questioned, means again it requires some more research. And it should be verifiable. When we say research is, in simple term, we say what is research? Research is the application of scientific procedures. It is a systematic, formal process of applying scientific procedures. And if we say like that, whatever the characteristics of science has, all those characteristics should be there in research also. What are the characteristics of research? It should be objective. When you speak of science, science should be objective. It should be free from personal bias. Prejudices should not be there. My opinion should not be peeped into that fact. It should be objective, and it should be verifiable. Whether I did an experiment, I did a survey, I found something through my research, and that research should be verified whether that is true or not. So by some other person, and it should be verifiable. Science has the characteristic of verifiability. And another thing, manipulation. What is meant by manipulation? Manipulation means you have to do the experiment not only with the repetition for verification. You may change the conditions. you may change the condition. For example, you followed a method of investigation in your research. It does not mean that I should follow the same procedure. I may follow or may not follow. I can use the same sample, or I can use another sample, or I can follow the same tools and techniques, or I can change my tools and techniques to verify. So that is called as manipulation. You manipulate the sample, you manipulate the method of investigation, you manipulate the tools and the techniques used, and you manipulate your hypothesis also. Your hypothesis can also be different, and for that, according to your hypothesis, you need to select your sample, you need to select the process of sampling also differs. And as per your objectives or hypothesis of the study. Okay? And another thing, if you are verifiable, authentic, and contribute to the knowledge in the field that you are studying. So, if you analyze that definition, it is an honest and exhaustive process. The facts are studied with understanding. So, when you are making an honest and following an exhaustive process, it means that you should have a comprehension, or you should be competent enough in the field of research. You should be more and more resourceful about the topic under study. Without understanding the problem, you cannot take up a research. For that purpose only, sometimes the supervisor, the guide, may guide you how to proceed, but you have to explore the knowledge and get. Therefore, at times, the scholar is more knowledgeable than the supervisor who is guiding. Okay. Another thing, the facts discovered in the light of the problem, that is the research, it is problem-centered. Research is always a problem-centered. Research is not, suppose in our schools, we are asked to compare something. You take the existing knowledge and make a comparison. That does not mean that you are doing research. Okay? Then, the findings should be valid and verifiable. It should contribute to new knowledge. These are the highlights of that particular definition. Next. So Francis Bacon opines that research is power of suspending judgment. What is that suspending judgment? What do you mean by suspending judgment? Say you observe a phenomenon and you come out with some of the ideas why it has happened, what were the reasons, and these are that we call it as hypothesis. And you suspend your hypothesis, you do not take that hypothesis as statements. It may be because of this, or maybe because of this, or it will be like this, it will be like that you state. You suspend your judgment. You make certain judgments that is, a hypothesis is nothing but shrewd guessed solution for the problem under study. It is a shrewd one. It is a guessed solution. It is not mere guessing. You take for example, some people say that the spirit of a researcher, the strength of a researcher depends upon how best he makes a hypothesis. It does not mean that making hundreds of hypotheses does not speak good of a researcher. You should make the valid and the hypothesis that gives the solution for the problem under study. That should be included in your hypothesis. Without including that part, you make 100 means it does not mean you are wasting your time by testing the hypothesis. You should be intelligent enough to incorporate the real problem as the hypothesis, and you need to check whether that is true or not and arrive at conclusion. Okay? And for that purpose, he says that research is the power of suspending judgment with patience. With patience. Then mediating with pleasure. You should have love for research. It should not be a hurried activity. You should love the subject. You should love the process of research. And it is a sort of ascertaining with caution. The process should be very cautious. And you cannot do a research haphazardly. Nowadays, it is all done in a different way. I see the pathetic situation existing in most of the universities. That's why I stopped evaluating thesis. If somebody asks, I say no. Why? Because cut and paste. And I was told by one person he has given 250 data sheets. 250 data sheets. And the computer person was asked to treat it as 1200 as his sample. The data collected was 250. And the data that is going to be presented as 1200. And in that, he accepted. That computer person accepted. Because what is there, he will repeatedly, randomly repeat the same thing. And to his surprise, 225 sheets are empty. Only 25 sheets have, the questionnaires were just like this. You follow this pattern, you follow this pattern, you follow this pattern, this pattern, this pattern, like that. Pattern. And he was lamenting, "Madam, this is the situation, what shall I do?" You give it back. I said, you give it back. Ask them, "No, madam, I accepted that, thinking that at least 250 I can make it for 1000, I say. How can you make it for 1000? Randomly I put, madam, he said. Then there is no research at all, no? If that was the situation. And the researcher also is not doing, is also not writing the thesis. There are people who are selling. If you give for one chapter this much, for next chapter this much, for this chapter that much, that a pathetic situation. But my plea is, don't be like that. If you love the subject, if you try to understand and have the comprehension, you enjoy doing research. You will definitely enjoy doing research. When I had only 10 students, only 11 students joined with me, and they had an opinion, with this madam, she will make us to struggle. We don't want to take up. Therefore, only who are interested, they alone will join with me. And all of them were placed in good positions, and they used to, and my M.Ed students used to guide other M.Ed students also. How to write objectives, how to write hypothesis, like that. So, when you undergo the difficulty, it will make you more and more resourceful. For that moment, you may face difficulty. It is maybe cumbersome, maybe you may be feeling difficulty, why others are taking rest, others are enjoying, why should I learn, and I am going to get the same marks, or I am going to get the same class, like that. But once you take the pains to learn, that makes you to enjoy the subject. And you can do in a different ways. The same problem can be viewed differently by different research. Then another thing, and if you go through and see here, mediating with pleasure, of ascertaining with caution, that caution is more important, of correcting with readiness. If you come across with some issue and Some others say that it is not true. Why don't you think in those lines? A researcher should have that readiness to correct himself or herself. No, nobody should say that, no, my research is like that. It will go only in this way because I have a firm definite path. Therefore, I will go in that way. You allow what is science. Science says it allows all types of criticisms and takes only what is reliable and what is valid. Like that, you should also be ready for correcting yourself and arranging thoughts with scrupulous pain. Arranging thoughts with scrupulous pain. That is the definition given by Francis Bacon. And if you observe that definition, research involves patience. If you do not have patience, especially in scientific research, you need to wait. Similarly, in experimental conditions, when we are manipulating the variables, we need to wait. We should wait with patience, and that patience is more required. We cannot come to conclusion one day, or some people will ask us, Madam, shall I complete my research within 2 years? It all depends upon how best you work. I cannot say that it will be done within 2 years or 1.5 years. And if it is an experimental work, you need to wait for the results. Sometimes your experiment you may get poisoned, or you may miss the data, or because of some other things, it may be spoiled. So that patience is always required, and you need to observe with caution. Whenever we have interviews or when we follow observation method, and there are many things to be observed, and you may observe many things, but recording is also very necessary. Observable things. What is an experiment? Experiment is nothing but observation and under controlled condition. When you observe, the important phenomena need not be missed. And the commitment is also required, and readiness to face challenge, and readiness to face pain. Here, I would like to give an example. A researcher should have courage, caution, pain. See, we all have learnt about Darwin's theory of evolution. We all have studied. During childhood, during our school days, we would have. Did you not hear the name of Charles Darwin? Yeah, he has evolved theory of evolution, and he has researched for 20 years. 20 years across the world, especially he spent so many years in Amazon forest. You know how the Amazon forest will be. Observed different sets of species, and he has recorded, and then after 20 years of touring, and he came and he was writing his thesis. He was writing his observations. And in those days, there was a pen with pulling ink from the bottle and writing. And he had a pet dog. And that pet dog, playing with him, tilted the bottle. All his papers were wet with the ink. It spoiled. If that is the case with us, what we would have done? మనం ఏం చేసి ఉంటాం? What we would have done? We will beat the dog. We will beat the dog, and we will shout at the people, shout at whoever are in our house, like that. we will be out of mood and we cannot come and we will be frustrated. We go under depression. All psychological, emotional imbalances we experience, and we cannot come. But what he did though, he was patiently pampered that dog, and again he rewrote his thesis. And that type of patience, as a researcher, one should have. And courage. When you speak of courage, during medieval period, you all know, irrespective of the country, all over the world, during medieval period, the religion has more power than the king. Do you agree or not? Everywhere, church is the authority, and monks are the authority, and here the gurus are the authorities. Everywhere, the religion has the voice, not the king. And when Charles Darwin has to put his theory of evolution that human species has come from apes, for that also in those days it was a condition, it was an impression that God has created. According to Bible, God has created this all the species and human beings, and created. One day he created mountains, one day he created, third day he created water, and sixth day he created sun and the moon, like that. And and before that he created some spaces, then created the seventh day he took rest, and that was the condition. But Charles Darwin's theory is saying that the species has evolved from a minute cell, planktons, and this highly evolved man. And before the Homo sapien to come, it was apes. It was apes. And this, his theory, is against the church authority. Church authority. And he was not able to put his theory in direct speech. He has put his theory indirectly with so many lot of explanations. And similarly, Copernicus. You have heard about Copernicus. What he said? Copernicus. Surya Siddhartham. Surya Siddhartham actually was given by our ancient Vedic scholars, but it came into existence in our textbooks to the world, entire world, as Copernicus. Sun is the center around which Earth evolves. That was his theory. But what was the church belief? No, Earth is the center around which sun and moon are evolving. But Copernicus said that it is the sun, the actual center around which the planet of Earth is moving, around which moon is also moving. For that purpose, church authorities have given a sentence to sentence him to death by hanging. He was actually he was put to death. Do you know? Just for stating that statement and that theory, he was put to death. Copernicus was put. So, once as a researcher, you should never be anxious that if my study is like that, if others are like that, never compare with others. Your research is unique. Others' researchers are different. So, don't be afraid of what others will say. You need to be very courageous to put forward your findings. Like that, there are so many examples in history. And how, see, during World War II, and we say that oh, sometimes it requires patience. Research always requires patience, we said, no? That was one of the characteristics I said. And according to the definitions also, we come to know. But sometimes research cannot be done in patience. Under pressure, under a sort of stress, many investigations will come out. During World War II, if you look into science investigations, science innovations, during World War II, scientists were forced to invent many things by giving an order by Hitler. So if you go deep into whether it is the history or physics or arms and ammunitions or anything, many of the investigations, so under stress also, that's why when you study about stress, some amount of stress is always needed. If you are, we say stress-free, stress-freeness sometimes may not work out. If we undergo some level of stress, but we need to have a balance. Some amount of stress is always required. Sir, who are the psychologists in this group? Psychology persons. Are there psychologists in this group? You have studied, no? Stress is, some amount of stress is required or not? Do you agree or not? Yes. Some amount of stress is required. If you are stress-free means you become very lazy. You are nothing for waste.
That is called moksha.
moksha. What moksha you are going to get?
Self-actualization.
No. Stress-free. Even they also have stress.
Stress, yes.
They also, even rishis also have stress. That stress is different. They also have stress. It does not mean that man is never be under stress.
You stress we call it.
Yes. Then when you are stress-free means you are mentally retarded. They are very stress-free people. They don't know. Huh? Next. See, and here, after analyzing, we put the meaning of research. Research is a systematic attempt to obtain answers to meaningful questions or phenomena through the application of scientific procedure. This is the actual definition. Simple definition is application of scientific procedures. What is meant by scientific procedure? What is a scientific method? Scientific method. What is a scientific method? What is a scientific method? Say there should be occurrence of problems, and you need to next slide. No. Next slide. What is scientific method? See, a scientific method. Next. What is a scientific method? A scientific method is nothing but it has certain definite steps. Identifying and defining a problem. You need to identify a problematic situation and define the problem. That I will come to the explanation later. Next, you need to formulate hypothesis. Hypothesis means single. Hypothesis, SES means plural, or SI means also plural. And implications of the hypothesis through deductive reason. You need to deduce what is the truth, and you need to deduce the hypothesis. And for that deduced hypothesis, you need to collect the data and collect the evidences and analyze the evidences, then verify through experimentation, or you accept or reject your hypothesis. That is called as scientific method. And in this scientific method, you apply the same procedure if you apply in research. But suppose if you see as a problem and you analyze the problem and formulate some hypothesis, and to test your hypothesis you collect the data and analyze the data and draw conclusions. That does not mean that it is research. Research is different from scientific method, though it follows the steps of scientific method. I give you an example. You are going in a two-wheeler. Suddenly your two-wheeler stops. So what do you? How do you check? How do you check? How do you check? Whether when you find a solution for the problem, one thing where the problem lies, whether is there any puncture, then whether petrol is there or not, or whether clutch wire is cut. Like that, you formulate different hypotheses. There was a problem, you identify the problem, and you formulate different hypotheses. For each of the hypotheses, you collect the data and verify. And if you verify if the clutch wire is correct, okay, this is rejected. If petrol is full, okay, rejected. If puncture is there, then okay, I need to go for puncture. Like that. And then can I say I did research? Can I say that I did research? Because there was a problem. You have formulated hypothesis and you have collected the evidences. You verified with the problem whether holds true or not. You checked and draw the conclusion. And you followed all procedures of scientific method. Do you say, I am a researcher, I have solved my problem? Can you say? No, it is not like that. Though it follows the scientific method, but you should remember that it should be a rigorous activity. It is more and more systematic. It should involve reflective thinking. And it should give you a solution for the problem under study. That solution may not be existing as on today. So whatever it is called as research is broadening the horizon of knowledge. Through research, we are going to broaden the horizon of knowledge. And it need not always be adding something new knowledge to the existing stock of knowledge. Through research, you are going to find some new knowledge. It always will not be necessarily the addition of new knowledge. Sometimes the existing stock of knowledge need to be modified or refined or stated in a different fashion. You take, for example, all of us in our B.Ed class or even in our M.Ed, we have studied laws of learning given by Thorndike. See, through research, he himself has modified his laws of learning. Do you know? Thorndike's revised laws of learning are there, no? Do you come across? Much better. Did you forget? Thorndike has given 3 laws of learning. Law of effect, law of reward, law of exercise, like that. And see, law of reward emphasizes on rewards and punishments. Law of effect, it is called as law of effect. Effect in the name of rewards and punishments. He himself has refined his law of effect. See, rewards and punishments will not work forever. You should be cautious and meticulous in following rewards and punishments. If you punish the child, he or she will say goodbye to studies. So why so many people dislike mathematics? Either because of the teacher, mostly because of the teacher, because of ourselves only, we create some type of terror. And the teacher phobia makes them to withdraw from that subject. And teachers, when the teacher is very passionate and very compassionate and very amicable and lovable, many people love the subject very much. So, their research should always be, though it is contributing to the knowledge, sometimes it goes for refining the existing body of knowledge or modifying the existing stock of knowledge. And sometimes through research, what we are going to do is, we observe a phenomena, we observe something. That phenomena or that effect is why it is happening. It is cause and effect relationship. Through research, we establish cause and effect relationships. And sometimes there are effects, we go deep into what are the reasons for that. So causes, sometimes we observe effects and we probe into the causes. And sometimes the causes we see and we predict the future occurrences. How corona? You see, the latest example, we have faced the effects. Scientists have probed into the reasons and found out with the medicine. And if the medicine is used differently, without reason or without caution, how the effects will be, the after effects. Like that, sometimes the research be oriented towards the establishment of cause and effect relationships. And most of our historical researches are based upon establishing cause and effect relationships and predicting the future occurrences. And then, next. See, if we look into the characteristics of research, what are the characteristics of research? Research, John W. Best and Best with Cobb during 1992 have summarized the main characteristics of research. Research is always directed towards the solution of a problem. It is always directed towards the solution of a problem. And research is the discovery of cause and effect relationships. And next, research should emphasize on the development of generalizations, theories, principles, and predicting future occurrences or making decisions. Next. No, before that. Research should be based upon observable experiences or empirical experiences. Empirical means tested. Tested evidences. And it rejects revelation and dogma. What is dogma? Accepted beliefs. Research never gives scope for, say, because of this, it will happen like that. And many superstitious beliefs are our dogmas. And it never believes in dogmas. It accepts only what can be verified and observed. Next. Research demands accurate observations and descriptions. And whatever you observe, you need to record it. That recording is more important. Next. Research involves gathering of data from primary sources or first-hand sources. What are primary sources? Primary sources are eyewitness accounts. eyewitness accounts. They are eyewitness accounts. Those who have contact with that particular phenomena or particular situation, and that is called as primary evidences. And sometimes the secondary evidences means passed on informations. Sometimes the secondary informations becomes the primary information, primary data. You take for example our partition, India's partition. During partition period, newspapers have given the news. During that time, for that people, newspaper is a secondary source. For us, it is a primary source. That newspaper itself is a primary source for us. So sometimes the primary sources, the secondary sources will also act as the secondary sources will act as primary sources. And at times research may be somewhat random. See, I said research never be a hurried process. It should not be done in a random way. It should be done in a systematic way. Sometimes our scientists, intuitively, so though we think that we are not thinking about the problem, our intuitive mind will always be working about the solution of the problem. All of us would have experienced this type of thinking. And you may not be thinking about that particular issue. Suddenly your mind gets the solution for that. It is called as intuitive knowledge. And see, Archimedes principle. Archimedes was given a problem by the king, and he was asked to find a solution for that, to check the purity of gold. And he made a crown, and he wanted to check whether the gold is pure, how much of impurities were there. For that purpose, Archimedes was given that task. And Archimedes was working on that, and then one day he was taking bath, and then suddenly, intuitively, he got, when he was in bathtub, he got that intuition how to solve that problem. And he gave Archimedes principle. And at times it may be like that, but always be not like that. And another thing, you have to design careful procedures. The procedures should be designed in a well-mannered. Then research is never blind and shotgun. Research cannot be within these many days I can complete my research. Within this period I can get the award. Within this period my research will be over. Like that you cannot be taken that sense. And research requires expertise and courage. You need to have expertise. Without knowledge in that particular field, you cannot go deep into the solution of the problem. So these are some of the characteristics. Next. No, before that. No. Next slide. Okay. Research should be free from personal bias. It should be objective. It should be objective. And another thing is, you frame the hypothesis. Sometimes all of you during your MD or your PhD, you have framed your hypothesis, and you are rejecting your hypothesis or you are accepting your hypothesis. And see, you may not think in this way. If all other people in previous research they have accepted this hypothesis, when I am rejecting this hypothesis, I may be wrong in that way. Don't think in that way. Whatever comes to your mind, your experiment or your data says that you need to be presented. You should never be in the attitude of either rejecting or accepting the hypothesis. And whatever comes, that need to be presented. Research should suppress the bias and emotionally held convictions. since I have collected this, and when I am saying like this means, so like that personal opinions and personal emotions should not be, attachment should not be there. And another thing, research should involve repetition, should be repeated by others, because it has to follow scientific method. In science, the nature of science is that replication is allowed, and here in research is also replication is allowed. That's why we have applied research, a branch of research called as applied research. And research is characterized by patient, unhurried activity, and research should always be carefully recorded and reported. Recorded means we prepare a thesis, we present the project report, it is recorded, but it should be reported. Reported means publications are required. Why? Our knowledge, our ancient wisdom, Indian knowledge system does not get popularized because we have not popularized through our publications whatever is existing in our Vedas, Upanishads, or in Bhagavad Gita, or in Mahabharata or Ramayana. Now the work is slowly getting impetus. Is it not? Lot of knowledge is there. And your Vedas, if you take Atharvana Veda, the field that is not touched in other Veda is nothing. It speaks of medicine, it speaks of military arts, it speaks of the aircraft, it speaks of preparation of atom bombs, it speaks of preparation of aeroplanes. Like that, all knowledge is there in our Vedas. The only thing is we need to record, we need to popularize it through digging out the whatever is there in the, see, zero, as if the Western civilization, zero is not there. In Indian system, zero is there, and Western system stops with the trillions, but our system goes back into some, I cannot say, unlimited. Like that, there are many things, but if you with your well-versed knowledge with Sanskrit and your versatile knowledge in education, if you combine these two and see whatever that we take it as the pride of the Western civilizations or Western contribution, you have to dig it out and bring it to light, saying that already our people, the Indian continent, Bharatavarsha, has all these things during the Vedic period itself. That should be the purpose of any Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya, to say to what is there in Vedas and our Upanishads, whatever there is there in other things, Vyakarana also. And see, our grammar is more stronger than the grammar of any language. But nowadays, if I see the Telugu books of the high schools, I feel pity. And when some people come to, some small children studying 8th class, 4th class and 3rd class, they are coming and playing with me every day. And I use it to say that some small slokas, some slokas with meanings. Some simple 2 lines. Take for example, Namo Bhavaya Sarvaya Rudraya Varadaya Cha Pasunam Pati. Like that, some small 2 lines stanza. They feel difficult to utter that word. Very difficult to utter that word. And they are asking me to translate in English. and it is going to die. Like that with every language, Indian language, it may happen. So and Sanskrit is the mother of all languages of the world. And we have rich culture, and that cultural heritage need to be transmitted from this point. You should become the source and disseminate that knowledge. And dissemination of knowledge is more important. See, the Indian culture has the strong roots of the ancient Vedic with westernized system, with Persianized system, and we have culmination of all cultures. You see, when Arabs invaded, the Indians have grabbed some of the good points and their cultural heritage into our stream. When Westerns came, we have grabbed some of that and we have Indianized them and presented as Indian culture. And whatever is good, that we need to take it out. And we should speak of the pride of our country through our research contribution. And that's why Mahatma Gandhi says we should have eclectic approach. In education, what method you should follow? The method, even in research, we need to follow eclectic. Eclectic means choosing the best from the different ones. So, my request is, you go back into your Sanskrit literature, dig out what should be there in the present school textbooks and curriculum, how it should be, and how the language need to be protected, propagated, and transformed or transmitted. Sometimes it need to be transformed because some words need to be coined now. Because there are so many new words are coming in English. For that we need to find out some new vocabulary. Like that, there are so many things that can be thought of with your intuitive mind and your reflective thinking. I wish all the best for giving me this opportunity. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Thanks. Thank you, one and all.
प्रणिपत्य अनुसंधान छात्रान् शिक्षा आचार्य छात्रान् च अभिनन्द्य मत्कर्मणि प्रविशामि। अहमस्मि डॉक्टर विद्याधर प्रभल, शिक्षाशास्त्र अध्यापकः, गुरुवायूर् परिसरतः आगतोऽस्मि। अत्र साम्प्रतं राष्ट्रीय संस्कृत विश्वविद्यालयस्य शिक्षाशास्त्र विभागेन शिक्षानुसंधान विधिविषये द्विसप्ताहात्मिका राष्ट्रीय कार्यशाला समायोज्यमाना वर्तते। तत्र तृतीये सत्रे स्मः। सत्रे अस्मिन् उपस्थितान् सर्वान् अपि पुनरेकवारं प्रणिपत्य धन्यवाद कर्मणि प्रविशामि। वस्तुतः वयं सर्वेपि भाग्यशालिनः स्मः। अत्र आगत्य उत्तमोत्तमविषयान् श्रोतुम् अवसरः प्राप्तः अस्ति। प्रातः उद्घाटनसत्रे नैकान् विदुषः श्रुत्वा वयम् आनन्दिताः स्मः। तथैव तृतीये सत्रे प्रविश्य अत्र स्पीकर् रूपेण सम्प्राप्ताः विद्यन्ते प्रोफेसर् एम् निर्मला ज्योति महोदयाः। एताः महोदयाः रिसर्च मीनिंग कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ एजुकेशनल रिसर्च, स्टेप्स इन एजुकेशनल रिसर्च इत्येतेषु विषयेषु अस्मान् बोधितवन्तः। पुनीताः वयं धन्यधन्याः आस्म। तर्हि मैडम we are highly impressed by your speech and we are highly blessed with your speech, and we got a lot of information from this particular great session. And on behalf of Department of Education of NSU, I convey my sincere gratitude towards to you. On behalf of all our research scholars and the participants and ML students, all of them, I convey my sincere gratitude to you that.